right, good evening. We're going to go ahead and call to order the workshop session. First item real quick, let's make sure we give the phone number out for those who need it. If you're watching from home and wish to call in, the phone number is 512-556-0332. First item on the workshop agenda this evening is discussion and updates concerning COVID-19.
Is that better? Okay. Update on the COVID-19 pandemic. In the state of Texas, we currently have 75,000 active cases. The fatality count is now at 16,558. The positivity rate, 7.41%, and there are currently 3,870 COVID-19 patients in the hospital in the state of Texas. As far as Lampasas County, since the beginning of October, we have gone from 347 total cases to currently 373 cases. These are active or total cases in the county of Lampasas. We've added one more fatality since then. This was a gentleman who appeared to be recovering. They were planning on taking him to rehab, and according to Dr. Hay, took a turn for the worse and did not end up doing well, and he passed away because of that. So we now have 11 fatalities in the county of Lampasas. As far as the trauma service center that we serve, or that serves us, I looked at that today. There's 37 patients in the hospital from COVID-19, and Dr. Hay states as far as what she's seeing is she's seeing a lot of multi-generational families in the county of Lampasas. So the demographics are from the young to the old as far as the new cases that we're seeing. I think the last update that we had was 34 active cases, and that was on Friday. Have not seen it today. I'm sure that later on today we'll get that text from her. So that's currently where we are with the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll answer any questions that y'all may have after that. All right. Thank you.
To follow up with that real quick, if you are safely socially distanced and wish to remove your mask, you may do so. Item number 3, discussion and updates regarding improvements and attractions at Campbell Park.
Mayor and Council, this is a follow-up, an ongoing follow-up. I think one of the things I'll mention is that, you know, since July 13th, this has literally been on every agenda, been discussed different locations and with different stakeholders. And we certainly, I want to tell you, I value all the input we've received, both from council members individually as well as stakeholders. We've gotten many opinions on this, and as the attached chronology indicates, it's initiated primarily through the CIP process as well as the budget process. We certainly have heard different concerns regarding the projects along the way in terms of available funding, what pot of money we could use for these projects. Is the timing right? Is this an appropriate priority to be spending staff time on? And we certainly encourage you to continue to make those things known at council meeting. Staff has taken a very, I think, a very methodical approach to this and tried to gain your consensus at just about every milestone opportunity there was, including last meeting when we asked you if you'd like us to go ahead and proceed with the stakeholders on both these projects. We continue to encourage your comments, and certainly we will respond and we'll proceed at your collective direction.
Finley, I had one. Yes, I did have a question. With this, like you said, was on our agenda since July. Who is having the concern about the timing? Because I mean, it's obviously, you know, I feel like as a council, I thought we had agreed upon it, so that's why we had the LAFTA and the skate, you know, the Eagles come and try to collaborate that, you know, with Mr. Eicher. So is there a specific person? Is there a specific area that there is a concern?
I think that's a more general comment. So the timing could be inclusive of a couple of things. One is, you know, which project do we do them both at the same time? Do we do one before the other? If one is more packaged and ready to go, do we initiate that one? Or is a question related to timing based on what else is on staff's plate. So that's a general comment, not a specific person or a specific item related to timing.
In that regard, I think I need to take a second to encourage council and remind council once again, this is the forum in which you express your concerns and opinions on topics that this council is taking up. If you have an issue, you have a question, even if it differs from the majority of council, this is where we discuss that. And if we're doing it outside of here on a one-on-one basis with staff, out of respect for transparency, you need to do it in here. I don't take much value in conversations had here and then having a different conversation outside of here. As a council, we do our job here for the public to witness and to monitor what we're doing. You need to say what you need to say, and you need to say it in here.
Well, on that regard, I have had a few people talk to me about these issues, and the thing I keep reminding everyone, it is our park. It's a city park. We're not just handing the money to two entities because they can't fundraise fast enough. And I do think it's important that everybody understand it is our park, the city's park, and we need to have areas where the kids can go out, or the LAFTA can have all the events they need to have. It's not just giving them carte blanche to buy whatever they want. So that's what I've been telling everyone. It does belong to the city, and whatever we're doing is going to be an improvement to the park.
Do the people saying this to you, do they have another recommendation?
No, that no one ever does. They just want to complain.
Mayor,
a
I
little
have a
bit.
question too.
And I want to point out that the pavilion isn't just for LAFTA, it's for the entire community.
Exactly.
And it is the city's. I mean, it's a city park with city facilities.
Mr. Clark?
While I'm not opposed to any of the project, I do have a lot of questions regarding the
Yes.
technical portions of it. I know we had some previous older type geological work done down there, but I'm very concerned about expressing my, that we protect our springs and that we know kind of what we're dealing with before we go into,
Absolutely.
any kind of bid situation, whether it be open bids or design build or anything.
Yes.
And I don't know what else we've done on that since we had a discussion
Mr.
with
Eicher
both
has found-
groups.
Yeah, Mr. Eicher has found the previous geotech, but to your point, just because we have two borings on one side of the park is not representative of the area that may be built upon.
Correct.
And it's not only, make no mistake, it's not only for the protection of the springs, it's also the integrity of whatever foundation and footings that those
Correct.
improvements are put on. So, absolutely.
But we haven't done anything at this point, right?
We have decided on a location, and we have asked you to let us go ahead and work with stakeholders and come back to you with a assessment of the scope as well as procurement methods.
Okay. I would just ask that when you do come back, that you have some information or have some way of updating the information regarding the geotechnical.
Yes, and typically those costs, council, are on the owner. Owner will do the geotech, and then,
Sure.
so. But absolutely, we heard that loud and clear from council. At the last meeting, again, we asked you regarding discussion with both groups, and the next steps, reported next steps, including assessing the scope and procurement methods. Tonight, after additional investigation regarding the scope and possible costs, the reason that the regular agenda item has discuss and consider direction to staff to prepare a bid document or a request for proposal document is because we got information on the pavilion first. It's not necessarily because we left the skate park out. It's just that we didn't get at that additional information until late last week. We would certainly be in favor, or if council wanted to consider telling us to go ahead and prepare documents for both, we could do that. But the regular agenda item just has a pavilion simply as a 1-week timing difference.
I encourage that for the simple fact, I'm going to talk about you, so don't interrupt me. We have 2 meetings left with Councilmember White, and I think out of the 7 of us, he's going to be more knowledgeable on the subject of skate park. So I'd like to get as much in regards to that accomplished while we still have him here to offer opinion.
Sure, I'm here. I'd also, I'd like to add that, you know, it's one project. It's a skate park and a pavilion. It's not the pavilions A and B and, well, it needs to be even and dispersed. It's one project together. We're not building one without the other, and one's not getting done without the other. One's not more important than the other because the pavilion's also going to get used by kids to skate on. Yes, they will, absolutely.
The pavilion shouldn't be used to be skated on. I mean, that's what the skate park's for, not the pavilion. The pavilion's a facility that they shouldn't be skating on, like they shouldn't be skating downtown.
You probably didn't expect them to skate on the artwork either, did you?
I mean, they're going to skate on sidewalks
Yeah,
and
they're gonna
concrete
skate on- it's
paving
all
and
flat
parking
concrete.
lot.
Unless you have 24-hour surveillance down there, you're not gonna keep them off.
They're
But I
not
don't
going to
think-
hurt anything.
I mean, I think both of the projects are important, but I don't think that you should hold up one project for the other project. I think that if one's ready to be.
I didn't say that.
You said that they needed to go together.
It's one project,
I
absolutely.
think they're one project.
But they're completely separate bills.
Where are we discussing holding up anything?
No, even though it's one project, it's separate builds. So if you're going to get the bid on part of it, and if it's ready, then, I mean, they're separate bids. They're separate.
I'm afraid if we don't combine them, that
Yeah.
Well,
we
the
may
bids,
lose
it
one.
won't be the same contractor constructing a skate park that also constructs a pavilion. I think Mr. White's sentiments
Different-
are,
and
we need
engineers
to
and
realize that
everything.
both are equal in value and council's directive.
And I'm in agreement with that.
And the pavilion will probably be done much sooner than the skate park. Just one, I mean, is engineering, and I mean, there's a million. The pavilion's by far quicker. Yeah, but they're both equally important. I just wanted to remind everybody that it's very important that they're both equally, and it's one project.
Okay, well, that's not how I understood your comment, so I apologize for that.
I think what staff is hearing from council, at least through this discussion, is we want to continue to move forward on both fronts. We certainly, at this meeting, feel comfortable asking you to consider directing staff to prepare requests for proposals for both items. Chris has done some follow-up on the skate park. He did meet with the contractor late last week to provide some additional comment, and I'll ask him to speak to that. And then also, just to let you know, I did talk to Lisa Parker today, who is really starting to initiate a fundraising program to hopefully close any gaps that might be in relation to the project versus available resources. They are continuing to look for guidance from council in terms of, gosh, how much do we need to raise, where are we going? But I know that they have initiated that part of the campaign as well.
They've also initiated a caretaking initiative with the kids. I don't know if any of you saw that there was a large gathering of the youth that went out there to clean the park with the mindset that, you know, if they're going to get something, they want to give something in return, and they're going to take pride in something that they feel like they're connected with. And so they've already started some efforts out there just to show their pride in the area and how they intend to be good stewards themselves.
And I didn't get the impression from either group that they were planning to just stop any fundraiser that they had going. It's not like either of them expect something for nothing. That's the impression I get from both groups.
Right. Chris, do you have any additional comment? Did I miss anything on the skate park?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did meet late last week with Jan Curtis, the owner and him and his brother established SPA New Line Skate Parks out of Austin. They build skate parks all over the nation. I can tell you, I've probably never seen a contractor more excited about a location for a build. He told me if he had to draw up a location for a skate park, he could not draw it up any better than the location that we've picked in Campbell Park, because skate parks and artwork go hand in hand, and skate park tourism is a real thing. He said it's huge. I'd hate to go into any numbers that I've gotten from any contractors to protect these contractors as these things go out for bids. I also talked to some contractors about building pavilions, and I will say that the numbers are way better than what we expected to begin with. I don't see any reason not to move forward on both of these projects.
Thank you. Does council have anything else on this item before we move on? Staff need anything else from council?
I think what we're hearing is that although we have a specific agenda item on the regular agenda, you'd like us to go ahead and move forward with the preparation of 2 RFPs, as well as council will probably go ahead and engage a geotech firm to come in, and we'll double check, make sure the locations are clearly identified, and then we'll probably have them come out and do 4 to 6 bores, depending on what they say.
Thank you, Finley. Item number 4 on the workshop agenda, discussion regarding regulating pedestrian crossing on South Highway 281.
Mayor, Council, the Texas Transportation Code, Chapter 52, allows local authorities to adopt an ordinance related to pedestrians. And it also provides in that where we can have a specific ordinance for certain roadways. Texas Transportation Code 552.009 states, a local authority may by ordinance require pedestrians to comply strictly with directions of an official traffic control signal and prohibit pedestrians from crossing a roadway in a business district or designated highway except in a crosswalk. I'd like to discuss with you tonight about adopting an ordinance as it relates to the Texas Transportation Code regarding pedestrians and to prevent pedestrians from crossing U.S. Highway 281 from Omnis to the city limits. This would allow pedestrians to cross in the section of roadway only controlled by a traffic signal, marked or unmarked crosswalks. This is at the intersection of the high school and at Omnis, as they're controlled by the traffic control device, traffic signal. The Center for Disease Control has determined that higher vehicle speeds increase both the likelihood of pedestrian being struck by a vehicle and the severity of the injury. Northbound traffic comes in from outside the city at 70 miles per hour and then reduces down to 45 and 35, 55, 45, 35. Speed increases on the other side as they're going out of town from 45 to 55. In the area of Putters and Gutters, Alfredo's, and the shopping business strip there. With that, we also see a lot of transport vehicles coming and going. We also see a lot of recreational vehicles that travel that roadway, mixed in with a lot of passenger cars. So in that particular area, if someone tries to stop at 40 miles per hour, they have to have a 59 feet reaction time. That's a second that it takes to realize someone has just run out in front of you. 80 feet for braking, overall distance of about 139 feet, or 9 car lengths. You see how those cars travel in that roadway. Most of the time, they're bumper to bumper with a brake, small brake between there, not 9 car lengths. If someone goes 50 miles per hour, then there's 73 feet reaction time, 125 feet for braking, overall 198 feet, and 14 vehicle lengths, car lengths. And if they double their speed from 40 to 80, then it triples that time period, those instinct periods of 117 feet for their reaction, 320 for braking, and 439 feet overall stopping distance. That's about 29 car lengths to stop. And you think about that with all of a sudden you have someone in that roadway, a child, an elderly person, or just anyone, how much time it takes to stop a vehicle. Most pedestrian accidents, deaths occur in the urban areas, non-intersection locations, and at night. Compared to I-35, 281 is a very scenic drive. It offers less congestion for the most part and has less road construction in our area. Over the past 25 years, 281 has become a very busy roadway in itself. Our section of 281 is often congested, especially during peak travel times like holidays, Thanksgiving. And also, our section of South US 281, we are seeing a lot of business growth. To a northbound traveler, at night, it may seem dark and you may feel like you're still in a rural area until the next thing you know, you're distracted by lights and sounds. If someone decides at that moment to cross in front of the roadway to go from one business to the other, we could have potential for a major accident. Southbound leaving the city may not realize that we have growth in that area, and as they're increasing their speed on that stretch of roadway, could also come in contact with a pedestrian trying to cross that roadway. Nighttime and nighttime events add another level of likelihood of a pedestrian being struck by a vehicle. 2019, there were 5,954 crashes involving pedestrians, 668 deaths, 1,312 serious injuries. From 2015 to 19, there was a 17% increase in pedestrian-related accidents. In 2019, pedestrians aged 65 and older, they accounted for 20% of all pedestrian deaths and an estimated 10% in all pedestrian injuries. 1 in every 5 children under the age of 15 killed in traffic crashes were pedestrians. We have businesses in this area that attract all ages for either side of the roadway. Almost half, or 47% of crashes in 2017 that resulted in a pedestrian death involved alcohol for the driver and or pedestrian. In some cases, it was both. We have businesses in this section of South 281 that allow alcohol to be drank and also sell alcohol. Highway South 281 has a sidewalk on the west side where pedestrians can travel north and south on the sidewalk. It provides a safe passage. And then on the east side, we have right-of-way that provides good passage. It'll be made even safer after our ordinance passes where there's no parking on the right-of-ways. At least one business out on South 281 makes arrangements for parking when they have events. They provide a reasonable shuttle service of $3 per vehicle for people to be shuttled from a parking area in their efforts to help provide safe passage to and from their business and to also try to not take from parking from other businesses in the area. Mayor, Council, it's not a matter of when we have a pedestrian accident on South 281. We've been lucky that we've not had one with the growth that we've had in that area, with the businesses that we have that attract our young, that attract all ages. Any comments, concerns, questions?
I was just wondering how is it going to be enforced?
We would enforce it as we do with our everyday traffic violations. If we see someone crossing across the roadway, we would warn them at first and let them know. If they continue to have this behavior, then of course we would have to cite them. But in the beginning, it would be warning and talking to people to let them know that they can't cross the roadway in that area. They have to use those signal crosswalks. Also, we would ask our media to advertise this with us.
Will there be signage?
We'd like to have signage, yes, and it would probably take 2 to 3 signs in that area, as well as we've talked about with the other.
You and I had discussed this after the last meeting, and you had discussed possibly doing this along other corridors. Is that something you have decided against, or?
The traffic code allows us to, we can work with that with the traffic code. It won't be a problem. Now, when we start getting businesses such as we have in this South 281 area, we may add some specific areas where they're not crossing roadways. We could do that.
So is this it would be like a jaywalking ticket?
I'm sorry?
Would it be a jaywalking ticket?
Jaywalking,
Yeah.
Is that what you call
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Yeah, jaywalking? That's what it would be, technically, walking diagonal across the roadway. That is against the law. Yes, ma'am.
Does council have any additional questions for Chief? Thank you very much, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 5, discussion regarding any item on the regular agenda. Finley obviously has something.
Not to interrupt something you're about to talk about, but I'd point out that I did put some motion language at your seat on the dais. If council is considering affirmative action on 7.1 and 7.2, we'd ask that you use the motion language that we have given you at the seat on your dais. It's just, it's very similar to what was published in the packet. It's just a little more, has a little more specificity to it. So ask you look at that if you're considering an affirmative motion.
Does council wish to discuss anything that we take up on the regular agenda? Have a motion to adjourn workshop?
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. We'll take a 10-minute recess and then reconvene. At this time, we're going to go ahead and call to order the regular session of the governing body of the City of Lampasas. If you would all please rise, and Chief Bailey, if you would lead us in invocation, please.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of this beautiful day that you've given us. Lord, there's a lot of anger, a lot of hate, a lot of evil in our world today. We ask that you purify us and make our world better, Lord. Lord, we ask that those that are dealing with illnesses, that you make them well and that you make this pandemic go away. Lord, please watch over our meeting tonight. Guide us, direct us as to your will. Lord, please see that all the great people that are here tonight to make our city better find their way home safely. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We don't have any presentations or proclamations this evening, so we'll move on to public hearing and citizens' comments. Item 1.1, citizens' comments. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter not included on the agenda may do so at this time. The city council may not deliberate on items presented under this agenda item. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak on anything not included on the agenda? I guess we'll go ahead and remind you from those watching at home, phone number to call in is 512-556-0332. Do we not have anyone wishing to speak? Item 1.2, citizens' comments. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter that is included on the agenda may do so at this time. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak on an item included on the agenda? Item 1.3, public hearing. Public hearing to receive citizens' comments to consider granting the request to vacate, abandon, or close and convey a street, alley, and/or public right-of-way or a portion thereof for property being described as 0.085 of an acre portion of an alley located in Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes addition between East 9th Street and Spring Hoe Avenue.
Mayor and Council, this is the public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding this request. All notifications and publications as required by ordinance and statute have been made. Staff mailed 7 notices to property owners within a 200-foot radius, and to date, I have not received any written testimony received on this matter. Notices were also mailed to utility providers, anybody who may be affected. Again, I did not receive anything back. We did reach out to one of the property owners adjacent to this to see if the alley would have any impact if it was closed or vacated, and it would not have any negative impact on them as well. We did take this to Planning and Zoning on October the 1st, and they do recommend approval.
Do we have anyone who wishes to speak during this public hearing? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. 1.4, public hearing to receive citizens' comments to consider approval, denial, or approval with modifications of the Spring Hoe subdivision final plat of 1.11 acres, being lots 1 through 7 and 0.085 of an acre portion of the alley of Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes addition of the City of Lampasas, commonly known as 1003 South Key Avenue.
Mayor and council, this is the second part of the vacating of the alley. They wish to combine lots 1 through 7, including the .085 of the acre. We did mail out 7 notices to property owners. Again, we have not received any written testimony from anybody with regards to that issue. And then we did send it to planning and zoning on October 1st. Again, they recommend approval.
Do we have anyone that wishes to speak during this portion of the public hearing? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you, Becky. Item 2.0 minutes. 2.1, discussion and possible action concerning approval of minutes of the regular meeting on September 28th, 2020.
I didn't notice any mistakes. I would move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 3.0 consent agenda. 3.1, discussion and possible action regarding purchases and charges in excess of $4,000 from September 1st, 2020 to September 31st, 2020. And item 3.2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 78, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 78-219, no parking zones for South Highway 281. Do we have anyone that wishes to pull either of these items from the consent agenda? I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Williamson, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Monroe. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 4.0, boards and department reports. We don't have any this evening. 5.0, routine matters. 5.1, city manager's operational report.
Mayor and council, just a few brief items. Wanted to report to you that we had budgeted this year for an increase in bandwidth, and then we received a proposal from our provider that an increase basically to double that again for an additional $675 a month. Monica's been working with the assistant city manager on that. This is something that can be accommodated within our current budget, and without objection, we'll proceed. We know that we continue to have pressure put on our bandwidth through public safety, communications, and just the files that we move now are bigger and bigger all the time. So we felt like this was a good opportunity for us to increase it for that amount. CARES Act city and county representatives met last week to discuss COVID-19 funding and the possible capacities to support other entities. The way that the CARES Act was put out is that you could actually grant these funds through an entity like the city or the county to other organizations or other entities, and in this case, the school districts. Although the school districts did receive some funding, the timing of their expenses may not have aligned with their ability to receive that funding, as well as they may have exceeded their allocation. We do want to investigate this primarily for one reason. The projects are broken up in terms of what they fund. 75% of them related to the containment and reducing the spread of the virus, and then 25% for things like what we have done previously, business support. So we think that there may be the ability, by providing these funds for reimbursement to other entities, that would increase the amount that we would have available to support other activities like business support, et cetera. So Chief Smith continues to look at that, and I do appreciate Yvonne keeping track of every single nickel that's been spent on COVID, and we think that there's perhaps opportunity there to do some good. Sales tax, you may have heard this already, but month to month indicates a 13.79 increase, or about $22,000 from 2019. Year to date, we're about 13% ahead of where we were this time last year, which represents about a $200,000 increase. We continue to enjoy this news, but we're also very cautious about what 2021 holds for us. Outside contractors, you may have noticed a lot of work being done in and around the city by outside contractors. Dakota is working up and down Key Avenue on a fiber project. I think we maybe had a couple of conflicts with some of our lines, but all in all, that project we believe will terminate at the intersection of East 580 and Key. CG&Y, their engineering crews have been out on South 281. They're a contractor for TxDOT, who is doing some staking and field work for those 281 South improvements. Irby electric contractors have also been in the area. Actually, we've had a number of road closures, which have been communicated, in advance to our PD and school district, et cetera. Most recently, they were up this afternoon on 3rd Street in the vicinity of Landon, that large LCRA transmission line that runs through west side of town. There have been some closures there, but hopefully they'll be in and out relatively quickly. It's also kept our crews very busy with locates and on-site consultation, and there were a group of us up on 3rd Street this afternoon looking at some culverts that some of their heavy equipment's gone over and making sure that those are going to hold up just fine. We have been approached, received a request from Martin Marietta that we'll follow up on regarding a sublease on city's property in the old industrial park on 580 East. Council may recall that this is a site that has been used, for probably 20 years for batching concrete. We don't know the nature of this sublease or assignment, but we certainly wanted to work with them as well as talk with our council on it prior to bringing it back to council, but look for that in the future. Chris Eicher's working on a drive-in movie with a youth group here in town. I think council's probably aware that we do, movie at the swimming pool, and we do it at Brook Park several times a year. We haven't been able to do that, but this might be an opportunity that Chris and his department is exploring. May have some possible synergy with another youth group in town in terms of their ability to sell popcorn or something like that. But Chris will bring, as progress is made, we'll report to you. We did have the pre-award conference call with Department of Agriculture related to our CDBG project that was submitted in 2019. This is a prerequisite prior to formal contracting. The target dates of this project are February 1, 2021, with a completion date on or before January 31, 2023. It is for approximately 3,300 linear feet of new sewer on Avenue C in between Key and Porter. It seems like we've just been hammering C or E or both of them for the last 3 years, and hopefully this will wrap things up, particularly once we wrap Avenue E on. Also in your packet, you do have an inclusion of the Fort Hood fast facts from Heart of Texas Defense Alliance. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Finley. Item 5.2, Mayor's comments. I don't have any this evening. 6.0, unfinished business. None of that either. 7.0, new business. 7.1, discussion and possible action regarding the first reading of an ordinance to consider granting the request to vacate, abandon, or close and convey a street, alley, and/or public right-of-way or a portion thereof for property being described as 0.085 of an acre portion of an alley located in Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes Addition between East 9th Street and Spring Hoe Avenue. We did discuss this item during public hearing. Do I have a motion in regards to this?
Mayor and Council, I just want to remind you that you do have a specific motion at your dais.
Everybody looks to TJ.
So we will consider a motion to grant the request of the applicant to vacate, abandon, or close and convey a street, alley, and/or public right-of-way or a portion thereof for property being described as 0.085 of an acre portion of the public alleyway located in Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes Addition between East 9th and Spring Hoe Avenue, with such conveyance to be strictly conditioned upon the following: the closing of the acquisition of the remaining lots in Block 54 by the developer, and the developer's acquisition and inclusion of the portion of the alleyway being subject to the terms of a written real estate contract and a public utility easement agreement, which shall be approved and executed by both developer and the city, and which shall include performance requirements and related real property reverter clauses, thereby ensuring the developer's performance and development of the project as proposed on the platted property as partial consideration for the city's conveyance of the alleyway.
Councilmember Keeney seconds that motion. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2, discussion possible action to consider approval, denial, or approval with modifications of the Spring Hoe subdivision final plat of 1.11 acres, being lots 1 through 7, and .085 of an acre portion of the alley of Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes edition of the City of Lampasas, commonly known as 1003 South Key Avenue.
Mayor and council, this item was discussed during public hearing. And again, for your motion, you do have a more specific motion at your dais to refer to.
So let's consider a motion to approve the Spring Hoe subdivision final plat of 1.11 acres, being lots 1 through 7, and .0.085 of an acre portion of the alley of Block 54 of the A.H. Barnes edition of the City of Lampasas, commonly known as 1003 South Key Avenue, with the approval of the final plat being strictly conditioned upon the following. The approved final plat may only be filed in the Lampasas real property records after the developer closes on its acquisition of the total platted area/property to CNB Lampasas Investors LLP, and the approved final plat may only be filed in the Lampasas real property records after the CNB and the city have finally approved and executed a written real estate contract and a public utility easement agreement, both of which shall include performance requirements and related real property reverter clauses, thereby ensuring the developer's performance and the development of the project as proposed, as partial consideration for the city's conveyance of the alleyway.
I'll second.
Currently have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Becky. Item 7.3, discussion of possible action regarding the award of a contract for utility line tree trimming to McCoy Tree Surgery in an amount not to exceed $151,000.
Mayor and council, this project we have every year, and we've been loving it. They've been doing a really good job, and we sure would like to have McCoy's continue through that LCRA contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
I just had one question, because at one point it says its total amount budgeted is 150, and then elsewhere it says 151.
Yes, every year they tend to go over just a little bit because they're putting in that 9 or 11 weeks of work in there, and that's what they're worth. Most of the time, they never make it to that. They either have somebody that goes on vacation or something like that they never make it to the 150. But I just wanted to put in for sure, if everybody made it 100% of the time, that we would have enough to continue on.
I do have a motion and a second from Councilmember White. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you, Flint. Item 7.4, discussion of possible action regarding the acceptance of renewal proposal for the new Xerox V180B model.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have a 5-year agreement with Xerox for our current lease, and it was up. So we have been discussing with the sales manager with regards to the product that they have. I did include in your packet the proposal that they gave us for different models. And we are just right now recommending that we go ahead and do the newer model, since it's more efficient and the capacity is a little better with as far as the printing for your black and white and for your color copies. We're going to remove the booklet piece of it because it's not utilized the way that we originally had thought it would be used, and we'll still have all of our other finishing products. And then we'll be able to do a reduction in what we actually pay currently to Xerox. So, and that's just what I would like for you to consider, since we have the opportunity to upgrade.
Do I have a motion from council?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 7.5, discussion of possible action concerning extending the Hidden Oaks preliminary plat approval for an additional 6 months.
Mayor and Council, this project has taken a little longer than we anticipated. We did just go through the second set of comments between the engineers and staff with regards to the plan set that we had for the civil set. Right now, they're going back through the comments and they're going to provide feedback to us, but we are asking as consideration to go ahead and extend another 6 months so we can finalize the rest of the details. And you will see that the developer did provide a letter to y'all as well.
Do I have a motion from council?
I move that we accept the extension.
Second?
I have a motion and second. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.6, discussion of possible action regarding preparation of a design-build request for proposal for design and construction of a pavilion at Campbell Park.
Mayor and council, although this agenda item in language is specific to a pavilion, staff certainly understands your comments and direction provided at workshop and will proceed along those lines. If you'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve this, that would be great, but we certainly understand that we'll develop the other one concurrently with this one.
Well, I'd make a motion to do a request for proposal for design for both of those areas, the skate park and the pavilion.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 7.7, discussion of possible action regarding the first reading of an ordinance regulating pedestrian crossing on South Highway 281.
Mayor, council, as we discussed in workshop, there's a section of roadway on Highway South 281 that's unsafe and dangerous for pedestrians to cross. And with that, I'm recommending and requesting a motion to add Division 7 pedestrians to City Ordinance, Chapter 78, Traffic and Vehicle, Article 2, specific street regulations to add Highway South 281 from Omnis to the city limits. No crossing except in the signaled areas there at Omnis and at the high school.
Do you have a motion from council?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yes.
I would like to ask if we need to establish some requirements for dollars for the signs that you're going to need, or?
Yeah, the signage is what I was going to ask about as well.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do we need to identify some monies for the signage?
It'll be minimal on that. We will have it in our budget and assist with street department with that, with theirs.
Do we need to include that in our, okay.
I have one other question. You're starting from Omnis. Are you including Omnis?
Yes, from that signal crosswalk, that area there, and then the high school. That's the two areas that we have on in that section of roadway where people can cross pedestrian.
Okay, so you don't have any problem at the motel and down by Valero on Omnis?
We've not had any problems there.
Currently have a motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you, Chief. 7.8, discussion of possible action regarding the reappointment of board members to the Lampasas Economic Development Corporation LEDC Board.
Mayor and council, this item comes up annually, so it's that time of year to reappoint our board members. I would like for you to reappoint Neil Level, Misty Talbert, TJ Monroe to the board who have agreed to serve another term.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 7.9, discussion of possible action regarding reappointment of board member to the Lampasas Airport Advisory Board.
Mayor and council, I would like for you to reappoint George Elsey to our Airport Advisory Board. He has agreed to serve another term.
Make a motion to reappoint George Elsey.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. 7.10, discussion and possible action regarding reappointment of board members to the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
Mayor and council, I'd like for you to reappoint Clifford Butts and Nathan Hooten to the Construction Board of Adjustments, who has agreed to serve another term.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 That is unanimous. And last but not least, 7.11, discussion and possible action regarding reappointment of board members to the Park and Recreation Advisory Board.
I'm asking you to reappoint Diane Davis, Rick Ribando, Clay Harrington, Shirley Blake, and Harvey Stinnett, who have all agreed to do another term.
Recommend approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Becky.
You're welcome. I will have more coming soon for the rest of the boards.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Well, everybody, give it to TJ. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, give that one to Randy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Have a good
Aye.
evening.